In the wake of George Floyd's death, some leaders are considering what they can do to change systematic racism. For the Winona Public School System, that question is one they've been trying to answer for years.
It started with a state investigation into the use of disciplinary action against students of color, but exposed deeper issues within the district. News 8 Now's Mal Meyer explains why the superintendent says there's much more work to be done.
It was the fall of 2017 when the Minnesota Department of Human Rights found the state was not making the grade. Using public data on disciplinary action, it found a deep divide between students of color and their white peers.
Black students nationwide are 3 times more likely to be suspended and expelled, but in Minnesota, they're 8 times more likely.
Winona Area Public Schools was one of 43 school districts and charter schools identified by the department as having some of the worst disparities.
Understanding the why really helps us figure out what are the different strategies we're going to have to change and implement in order to make a change and difference in that.
In an agreement with the state, the district created a strategic plan to address training, update policies on out-of-school suspensions, and increase state oversight. It also created teams to review disciplinary data and make recommendations for system-wide improvements.
It's a way for us to measure, are we making progress in improving what we're doing in regards to student behavior.
But since the agreement, numbers show little change. An analysis by News 8 Now found during the 2017 to 2018 school year, Black students made up just about 5.9% of the district's population, but received 30.3% of all disciplinary actions. The next school year, Black students made up about 6.4% of the district's population, but received 27.5% of all disciplinary actions. It sounds like there's still more work to be done.
Absolutely. It will be a continuous project, continuous.
If they don't, the effects of suspensions and expulsions are long-lasting.
It really impacts them throughout their schooling and beyond as adults.
Joshua Crossan is the executive director for Ed Allies. It's a Minneapolis-based organization working to advance equity in the Minnesota school system, especially for underserved students and people of color.
They're pushing students out, not giving them the proper education and resources they need to learn, and that's resulting in low high school graduation rates, low college attendance rates, and it's going to have detrimental impacts on our society as a whole.
Studies have also found a connection between suspensions and being arrested or incarcerated.
Once a student is involved in the criminal justice system, we know it's really hard for them to get out of that cycle.
The superintendent is working from the top down by shifting gears. She's reading the book with district principals to learn more about consequential but restorative action to address conduct.
What do we do to help that student improve their behavior?
It's through this lens that they can envision a fair disciplinary system. But their work doesn't end here. On top of the agreement from the larger state investigation, the district also settled a discrimination charge with the Department of Human Rights earlier this year. It clarifies the role of a police school liaison officer and requires staff to receive at least an hour of training on responding to student behavior and implicit bias, and a separate training on anti-discrimination law.
Which is just the start. In order to have systemic change, we have to sustain it.
They're planning additional trainings to help staff learn about cultural differences, understand their biases, and ways to work through them. But it's not just an issue among staff. A district climate survey of 5th to 12th graders found 76% heard a student use a slur, epithet, or other derogatory words toward another student.
Very sad that we are in a culture that feels that that's okay.
As long as it's active, the state's agreement says students need to have at least 1 hour of training each year on equity, inclusion, recognition of bias, harassment, and bullying. Freiheit says these issues exposed by the state are part of a larger societal system that has to be taken down over time, which they're running out of.
We're going to have to push people's mindsets and practices to do what's going to be best for our students.
That means looking inward.
I'll be the first to step up and say, I know I have to address my own because I'm the lead leader.
It may be difficult and call for courage.
We're going to have to build a culture of trust and respect in order to be able to call each other out when we say, Is that exactly it?
Changing a system of discrimination and bias means Freiheit will put herself in other people's shoes. As a white, middle-class woman, she says she's committing to listening to others about their experiences and acting to break down barriers that are more than skin deep.
I'm not going to shy away from the fight. I'm not going to shy away from making the change.
For News 8 Now Investigates, in Winona, I'm Mel Meyer.
The Winona School District's agreement with the state to address disciplinary disparities will end in September of 2021. The additional training stemming from the discrimination allegation will run through the 2021 to 2022 school year.